Hello everyone, this is Ashley Tucker. Thank you for joining me today. For today's card, I started with a piece of Canson watercolor paper taped down to a board, and then I added some additional tape in order to mask an area off. I'm going to be painting that area using my Gansai Tambi watercolors. Now, the Gansai Tambi watercolors have two different names depending on which set you bought, so I'm just going to give you the color numbers because those are the same for both of the sets. So to paint this area, I used color numbers 34, 36, 30, 31, and 40. I started out the painting by adding a layer of water, and then I started with a very light wash of each of the colors. Once that first layer of color was dry, I came back in and I really deepened up the color. Now I did use a yellow paint, but in the end you can't really see it. I mostly used it to mix in with that pink color to give me an orangey coral color. So I kept adding more paint, and every now and then I would dry it in order to lock in those colors, and then I would keep going back over and layering more paint until I got it to a point where I was really happy with the amount of intensity of those colors. Once I was finished with all of the painting, I made sure to dry it completely with my heat tool, and then I very carefully took that tape off. You definitely want your paper to be very dry when you do this, because if it's not, you risk the paper tearing. The stamp set that I'm going to be using for this card comes from Simon Says Stamps February card kit, and it's called Love Always. Now, at this point in time, I do know that this card kit is still available, but if it does sell out, the stamp set is available outside of the kit. I prepped my watercolor panel with a powder tool, and then I stamped a bunch of the hearts from that stamp set onto that panel using Versamark ink. I embossed those hearts using rose gold embossing powder from Simon Says Stamp. I then took the same exact stamps and I moved them around on the panel, and then I did the same exact thing, stamping them with Versamark ink and embossing them with the rose gold embossing powder. I think that this embossing powder is such a pretty color, and it looks really pretty on that watercolor background. For my sentiment, I picked out the stamp which says "You are my soulmate," and I stamped that with Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink right along the bottom edge of that watercolored area. And because this is a textured watercolor paper, I did have to stamp the sentiment a few times in order to get a good impression, but because I'm using the Misti Tool, I can easily do that because you can keep stamping it as many times as you need. So I popped up that panel onto an A2 size card base using some foam tape, and then I took my white gel pen and I added a bunch of dots to that background. I then went back through and I changed some of the sizes of those dots so that some of them would be a little bit bigger and I'd have some variation. I was kind of going for a faux bokeh look here. Like if you see a photograph and in the background there's a bunch of light bubbles, that's called bokeh, and that's what I was going for. Next, I took a bunch of different sizes of clear sequins and I spread them across the card, kind of going diagonally from the left bottom to the top right, and I glued those down using my Gina Connect glue. The last thing that I did to finish up this card is I took my Wink of Stella glitter brush and I added some sparkle to the middles of those outlined hearts. Here's a closer look at the finished card. It's a really clean and simple design, but it's something that really stands out. Thank you for watching today. I hope you really enjoyed this card design using the stamp set in Simon Says Stamp's February card kit. All of the supplies that I used for this card can be found in the description down below. If you enjoyed watching today and you're new to my channel, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button so that you can see all of my future videos. I'm going to be back with a new video on Friday. Again, thank you for watching. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a good day today.